Hi everyone, my name is Amber. Welcome back to my channel. This is the Anti TBR tag. So there are 8 questions. Yes, 8 questions. I don't think I've done this tag before. If I have, then my answers now are probably going to be very different to what I said back then. This tag is all about books that I do not want to read. So the first question is a popular book everyone loves that you have no interest in reading. I have probably quite a few. The ones that come to mind immediately are These Violin Delights, just because when I hear Romeo and Juliet retelling, I nope out of that. I don't like the idea of that. I don't like Romeo and Juliet kind of as a concept, just because I don't like the way that people portray the story now and how people keep going on about it. So it doesn't help that I'm not a fan of the original kind of source material. Another popular book that I've got no interest in reading is that new J. Kristoff book. I can't remember the name of it. It had a cover reveal recently and I don't really want to read anything by J. Kristoff ever again. So there's that. Prompt number 2 is a classic book or an author you don't have any interest in reading. To be honest, I'm not really interested in reading most things by Charles Dickens, just because I've heard his books are kind of overwritten because he was being paid by the word count, I think, so he was trying to write as much as possible. So I might check out Oliver Twist at some point, but I don't really feel like a burning desire to. There's also War and Peace. I know a lot of people kind of challenge themselves to read it, but to be honest, I've got no idea what the story is about and it just seems unnecessarily long, so I don't, again, feel a burning desire to read that book, and I also don't really feel the need to prove myself as a reader by reading it. Prompt number 3 is a problematic author whose books you have no interest in reading. There are so many. I've got an entire note shelf on Goodreads which talks about, or doesn't talk about, which features books by problematic authors or just books in general that I don't want to read, but the majority of the books on there are by problematic authors who have done something stupid. There are quite a few on there from back in the day. There's Cassandra Clare, Kira Cass, Colleen Hoover, Jamie Maguire is probably also on there as well. J. Kristoff, again, don't really want to read anything by him. So yeah, quite a few. Prompt number 4 is an author you have read a couple of books from and have decided they're not for you. I've done a whole video on authors I've given up on, and there's probably going to be a part 2 coming at some point, but the one who comes to mind immediately is Riley Sager. I've read 3 out of 4 of his books. I think that's how many he's got out now. I didn't like the fact that he pretended to be a woman in order to sell more thriller books, and I also really don't like the way that he writes female characters. I think he does a really poor job with it, and I don't think his books are good enough for me to kind of brush that aside. He's the one who sticks out most for me for that question. Question number 5 is a genre you have no interest in or a genre you tried to get into but couldn't. I don't really think there are many genres I absolutely won't read, apart from like very specific non-fiction books like arts and technology and stuff like that, but I tend to not read erotica, like plain erotica. It's not really my kind of thing, and I also don't read Christian fiction. Question number 6 is a book you have bought but will never read. So I have a couple of books that kind of meet this prompt. One of them is a J. Kristoff book. I bought the second book in the Lotus War series. I'm not sure I will ever read that one, just because his books now tend to leave a bad taste in my mouth. I haven't really enjoyed them and I don't really like him as a person, so there's that one, although I might give it a go just because I own it in hardback and so I feel bad not reading it. And then there's also A World of Ice and Fire, which I do really want to read, but at the moment I'm still kind of put off by the Game of Thrones finale and the fact that George R.R. Martin still hasn't finished the series. So I really want to read it because it's got some amazing illustrations. So I'm not saying never for this one, but I am kind of a little bit hesitant to read it right now, and probably will be for the next year or so. Question number 7 is a series you have no interest in reading or a series you started and have DNF'd. I'm not sure if there are any that I definitely don't want to read other than the ones I've already mentioned. There are some that I have DNF'd, definitely. I DNF'd ACOTAR when it first came out. I actually received a review copy of A Court of Thorns and Roses, the first book, and I hated it. I could not stand it at all. I think I was coming out of the Throne of Glass hype. I think I'd just finished either Heir of Fire or Queen of Shadows, and I was so excited for ACOTAR. The romance in that was awful, and I know that the main character, whose name I can't remember, Feyre, she doesn't end up with the love interest from the first book, and I think by the time the second book rolls around, like, he's basically gone. But I hated it. I thought it was a really bad attempt at retelling Beauty and the Beast. That's how it was being marketed at the time, and also the love interest was abusive. I remember him pinning the main character to the wall. I didn't like that, and also the love interest that she ends up carrying on with, whose name is Rhysand, I think. I know too much about this series considering I DNF'd it years ago. I didn't like him in the first book, so I don't like the fact that she ends up with him. So I've DNF'd that series, no interest in reading it at all, but I have been reading recaps on Recap Pins of it, so I kind of know what's going on and kind of about the things that are happening. I also DNF'd Shatter Me. I read the first book and I hated it. Again, I didn't like the fact that Warner was such a dick in the first book, and then the main character carries on building a relationship with him later on and gets with him. So this seems to be a theme with me. If the love interest or love interest to be is a prick in the first book, and then later on he goes through like a major character change for seemingly no reason, I'm probably not going to want to read the series. And this isn't like a Zuko situation. I love Zuko, but he actually had like proper character arcs and development, and also Uncle Iroh. But Warner and Rhysand, I don't think, from what I've read, they don't have that. I also DNF'd the Cormoran Strike books because J.K. Rowling is, in my opinion, a bit of a dick. I feel like I have to say in my opinion in case she tries to sue me or something, if she ever saw this video. But yeah, I DNF'd that series. I think I read the first 3 books, and it's a shame because I did quite like them when I was younger. But now looking back and knowing who J.K. Rowling is as a person now, I feel like her views come across quite a lot in the text. And previously when I was younger I didn't catch that, but now I think I would. So I first of all don't want to give her any money, and secondly I don't want to read the books. Question number 8 is a new release you have no interest in reading. I actually couldn't think of many new releases that I wasn't very interested in, so I came up with American Dirt, which came out at the beginning of last year, so it's not really a new release, but that one is written by a white woman, and I think it's about characters who are refugees from Mexico. I'm not sure if they'd still count as refugees. I'm not exactly sure like where the line is, but basically they're trying to cross the border from Mexico to the US, and like who is she to be telling that story? Mexican readers of the book said that it's not a very good portrayal, so I'm listening to them. I don't really want to read it. I don't really see the need to. And I think the author as well at some point implied that she had Mexican heritage, or that like her husband did or something, and that he was an immigrant to the US, and then it turned out he was from like the UK or something. Don't quote me on that. You're gonna have to look this up yourself because I can't actually remember. Full disclosure, like I don't know what I'm talking about. Don't listen to me. Another newish release that I thought of was Midnight Sun. I've got no interest in reading that. If you were talking to me 10 years ago, then I definitely would have read it like in a heartbeat. I was so sad when Midnight Sun was originally cancelled, but nowadays I've got no interest in it because I don't really want to read the Twilight books anymore, like in general, because they're poorly written and I've got better things to spend my time on. But also Stephanie Meyer has completely like ripped off various Native American tribes, I think, or perhaps one in particular. Her portrayals have been quite offensive, so yeah, I don't want to check that out. Don't want to give her any money. Also don't want to give her any more promotion than she already has, even though like my viewership isn't really going to make a difference in her career, but it makes me feel better knowing that I'm not supporting that kind of thing. So that was the Anti TBR tag. I've actually got a lot of authors and books that I don't want to read, but it was so hard to come up with them kind of on the spot. It was also very difficult to make them meet this kind of criteria because this is very specific, and sometimes it's just that like the author has said something silly on social media and then I've decided like it's not worth my time. But then at the same time there are so many books that I have that I do want to read, and ones that I'm not like necessarily excited about, but they're also books that I'm not going to unhaul just to clear up space, because I'm really bad at unhauling books that I haven't read, because who knows what I might be in the mood for in the future. I might do a part 2 of this next year and see how my answers to the questions has changed, because I think it would be really interesting to see kind of what new books are coming out and which new series I have DNF'd or decided I'm not going to read. I just think it's a really interesting tag to do kind of regularly, just to like keep up to date with what's going on. So that was the Anti TBR tag. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed it, and I'll speak to you all in my next one. Bye.